Hi everyone, welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. Today we're going to be talking all things commercial cleaning, the ins and the outs of your business. But today and in a lot of the future videos, we're going to be having a very, very special guest, which is not even going to be a special guest at this point. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna. Anna Vieira. Me again.
Thank you so much for coming back onto the channel. We're super excited. We're slowly growing our channel, and we are making real videos, talking everything in the cleaning business. And so many people have requested so many different videos, but today we are going to be talking about a specific part of our business. And Anna is going to go ahead and just tell us a little bit about what we're talking about today, and we're going to get right into it.
So today we're gonna talk about the major steps and foundation for your business, right? On the past business and the past videos that we did, we talk about different things such as how to open your business. We talk about your logo. Today we're gonna specify a little bit more on the steps and the foundation of your business. Things that you cannot avoid being a business owner, right? The first thing that we're going to talk about it is general liability insurance. Very important, very important, very important, okay? When you start having clients, you must have insurance. And that is going to make a difference between you and somebody from the street. Doesn't matter if you do a commercial cleaning or residential, you have to have insurance, general liability insurance. Usually, the general liability insurance is going to cover in case of accidents. For example, you clean somebody else's house and you broke a vase, or not a, let's put something a little bit difficult. For example, you damage a carpet or a floor, right? Because you still have to have a deductible of $1,000. Anything above $1,000, you should use your insurance. Imagine if you damage a carpet that is very expensive, right? When you have the general liability insurance, they're gonna pay for that, right? I had several things in my company when I had my company before, accidents that happened. I had a cleaner at the time that she cleaned a bathroom with Clorox and then she was stepped on the carpet. So the whole carpet of this very famous client was damaged. Was over $7,000. My insurance had to pay for. You must have those insurances because accident happens and could be little, could be small, but it's gonna make a difference if you have a insurance. The price is gonna vary, okay? They're gonna take in consideration how much, how large is your payroll, your revenue, annual revenue, but it's important to have, right? And also is a sell point to your clients that you have something to guarantee if you have an accident. The other insurance that you have to have that a lot of times people don't talk about it is a workers' comp. Okay? This is the most important thing. Why? If your employee or contractor get hurt or even driving to work or driving to one side to the other side or in the middle of cleaning a house or an office, you are liable. Okay? And this is something that many people that are in a residential industry, they don't understand that. If you get hurt in somebody else's property, that person is liable to pay your hospital bills. And if they don't pay it, you own their house. Okay, so this is to protect you and also your clients, and also is a selling point to your clients, right? Because if something goes south and somebody get hurt, that person might be out of work for months. And if you don't have a workers' comp, you have to pay that. And if you don't pay, you're gonna get sued, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be
And that's
worse.
like that's really good. I also want to add some of the like when you get into like the commercial side of things. Honestly, most commercial facilities like will not even consider your company if you don't have workers comp, all of the insurances you need. Most of them just won't even consider it. they won't consider your company. Obviously, maybe if you're doing like smaller offices, maybe, but if you're getting into like the bigger size of commercial things, some places just won't even consider you, right? Like when I first started, we were doing small little places that, you know, didn't even ask us for insurance, and that's how we started, when I was first starting, when I didn't have insurance. But the reason, actually, I'll tell you, the reason why I did get insurance and workers' comp and all that is because number one, we started to hire employees, and number two, we had an opportunity, a large opportunity at this condominium complex that was actually turned down because um, of our insurances, right? We didn't have, proper insurance at the time. I think we had like I don't even know what insurance we had something, but it wasn't anywhere near what we needed. Especially like I said, when you start to have employees, because a lot of us that, follow our page, they're just starting to get employees. So they don't quite have the need for it, I guess, right now. So this is a great video to, continue watching.
Yeah, they need. It doesn't matter. Even if you're only you need to have
Right.
workers comp.
Absolutely.
Because if you get hurt, it's the responsibility of the person or the property that you're doing the cleaning. Another thing it is with general liability insurance and workers comp, when you do commercial, a lot of times every single office is going to stipulate how much they want to be insured and now the specifications that they need to be aware of. That can cost you a little bit more, but those things are the things that you cannot go around insurance. Another thing that you need to take in consideration, it is the bond. Why? Especially if you're doing residential homes, sometimes how am I going to approach this? People are not very honest, right? You might hire someone that have, a easy hand and like to steal things, or maybe you forgot to close a property. Somebody comes inside and steal things, and your responsibility. Bond is gonna cover that. General liability insurance does not cover theft, but bond does. And that happened to me and was one of the reasons that I was in a mess that I was. I had a contract at the time, a stupid contractor. She was cleaning a post construction property for me, and she left 7 windows open of the property. Somebody came inside and stole all the appliances, damaged the floors, damaged the walls. And, I didn't have a bond insurance at the time. I had to pay that. Was close to
Mhm.
$8,000. So make sure that you have that if you're doing the residential or even the commercial. Because sometimes you don't know. People have different backgrounds. Sometimes, nobody is born dishonest. It's just take one time to do things. So you have to cover your business on that. So when coming from the part of insurance, this is the first thing and first step that you need. You cannot skip is your general liability insurance, workers' comp, and also your bond. Okay? This is very important. The second thing that you need for your company, I'm going to stress more than anything else. You don't go into a business, you don't go to a partnership without a contract. You're going to need a business lawyer or a business lawyer also that have a little bit inclination when it comes to labor law. Why? For example, you're going to start your business. You're going to have to have an operation agreement, right? Because sometimes when you open a bank account for your business, they're going to ask that. And it is pretty much a contract. It's going to tell how your business is going to run, right? If you ask a loan for a bank, they're going to want a statement, like a contract is going to say how you run a business, who's the partner, right? You need to have that. Also, if you're going to business with somebody, okay, I'm going to say this and I'm going to put that out there. I don't care if you're going in business with your husband, with your kid, with your mom, your papa, your side chick, you know, I don't care. Jesus Christ, your pastor, listen, you need a contract, okay? People change, you change. Today you love someone, tomorrow you hate them. And a contract with your business partner is going to alleviate that mess that might perhaps gonna happen in the future. What is important? First of all, you need to have in writing who's gonna do what in the business, who's gonna be responsible for the business, right? Also, the percentage of your business is your 50%. It is, 49 to 51. You need to have that in writing, right? What about if you have a partner, you guys are married, you're going to get married, and you have to put that in contract in case of a divorce? Because if you have a partnership with somebody, they get married and get divorced, and if your business is going great, that piece of the business is going to be inquiry on the divorce. You need to have that in writing as well. In case of termination of a contract, I don't like you anymore, I don't want to see your face. How that is going to go about? If your business is profitable, how you gonna sell the part of business, or you gonna allow them sell their part of the business for third party? You have to have a contract. In case if you passed away or your business partner passed away, what's going to happen to your business? Are you going to allow their family be part of the business, or you going to sell? They're going to have you have to inquire or buy their part of the business to yours. All those kind of things you need to put in a contract. If you have a business with your husband or your wife, in case of a divorce, what's gonna happen with the business? You're gonna sell it, or you're gonna inquire everybody's partner part, or you're gonna work together, right? Everything has to be in writing. And I'm gonna say this, many people not gonna like what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say anyhow. 90% of the business they have a partnership, they don't end well. Okay? I have helped several business, and I don't know how to tell you. So many people get scammed on that. Oh my gosh, just because they are part of the business, sometimes you have somebody, they don't have the money, but they know how to run the business and do what the services of the business. And you have a partner that does, that it is invest with the money. And they claim, oh, this is my company, you have nothing, nothing to worry about. And then they take the business from them. Don't be stupid. Don't believe in Santa Claus. Make sure that you protect yourself. You have to have a business. You have to have a contract. The second contract you have to worry about is the contract that you have with your clients, right? You can't go in even people's home, residential homes. You need to have some kind of understanding, right? Sometimes, if you want to terminate my contract, you have to let me know in 30 days, how often you're going to get paid. Um, Also, for example, if you hire me to do every week and then, you keep skipping me, are you gonna pay the whole month? Clause of cancellation. You have to have this. Not could not doesn't need to be a huge contract, but those are the clauses that understanding that you need in order to start doing your residential. Word of mouth, shake hands, don't work in a court of law. You cannot ask for sometimes the protection of the law when you're not protecting yourself. So make sure that you have a contract with your clients. When you go to commercial, you have to have a contract with them. And make sure that they also can have a contract with you, right? You're gonna have understand what they want, and they're gonna have understand what also want. So very important. Also contract with your employees or contractors that are working for you. You cannot just hire people to work for you and don't have any contract. You need to make them understand how much you're going to pay them an hourly, what I expect from them, the rights that you have or termination of a contract. Just make sure that you don't forget to put in a contract. If you want to sue me and if you lose, you need to pay for my lawyer's fees. Don't forget that clause on, right? On case if they steal something, I'm gonna, file charges. You have to make sure that you have a contract with your employees. The same thing with your contractors, right? Don't assume that they understand something when they not. And another thing it is, the contracts has to be in English, doesn't matter what. But if you have somebody that don't speak English, make sure that you have a translate, right? That they understand what they are signing. Okay? So they don't feel that you're taking advantage of them. So contract your lawyer. This person, your lawyer, is not gonna be somebody that you're gonna be paying them every month, but you're gonna pay as you need it. The third person most important in this business, and that person has to be on your payroll and part of your business expenses, is your CPA. Okay? You need to work with the CPA, especially when you open a business. Okay? Many businesses out there, they are owing a lot of taxes. They are losing a lot of money because they remember that CPA only on April 15th when they have to file their taxes. When you have a business, it's imperative that you work with the CPA from January 1st to December 31st. He's going to be your best friend. A CPA, don't get somebody that do taxes. You need a CPA. You sit with this person and explain, look, this is the kind of business that I'm going to do it. This is what my dream, my aspirations. And he's going to tell you what are your expenses. Okay. What they're expecting from you. They're going to talk to you about your receipts, right? You have to sit with this person every month because you need to know how much you're making and how much you're spending. Okay? Because you need to control your expense in order for you to make money. Okay? And also, they're gonna help you understanding about tax codes, right? Because you open a business, right? And you want to make money, and sometimes the tax, you can pay a lot in taxes. They're going to also tell you about the structure of your business, right? If you have our LLC, how much taxes you're going to pay. If you have a S corporation, the benefits of that. They're going to also help you on the long haul, right? Because I'm going to say something very important. Many businesses out there, when you ask them, how much is your profit, your revenue monthly? They have no idea. How much you make in a year? They have no idea. How much is your expenses a year? They have no idea. That's a problem.
I want to add something. So, it's so funny because before we had a CPA and an accountant, we had no idea ourselves until we invested. It's obviously an investment to get, you know, those into your company, but you need to do it, right? For example, now we're getting monthly profit and loss statements every single month. So we're able to see exactly how much is, coming in, how much is going out, everything else in between. So we're, it's definitely an investment, but it's something you need to do for your business.
Yes.
It's
Uh,
absolutely like some people, just play with their money too much, and there's uncertain how much they're making, how much payroll is, how much like there's so many expenses when you, especially in the cleaning business, right? There's so much expenses. You've got to know your numbers. You've got to know everything in between. And that's why, like I said, that's why we have found it so good to have that profit and loss statement every single month to know exactly all of our numbers in a detailed spread. It's like 3 or 4 pages full of everything in detail they send us, and which is it's what every business needs. So it doesn't matter what business you're in, you absolutely need an accountant and a CPA.
yeah,
One
exactly.
other thing to add, um, Anna was talking about a bunch of different things, and it's not to scare you. It's honestly, it's valuable information that you need to know, right? Like it does sound scary, like obviously owning a business in general does, but all the stuff she's talking about it does happen, and it's good to have, right? Like so many of us are just like, oh, this isn't going to happen to me, or it's very good to hear from other people to see what you can do to prevent things happening in your business, right? And especially having those things in place so things aren't happening. So she's dropping a lot of a lot of great gems on this video. So Yeah.
It is not because, and another thing it is, we are not saying this to scare you. We are saying this by experience, right? This is the valuable, like, we are not BS around here, right? We are telling you things that we going through with our business. In my case, I used to go through it, and to try to warn you, but also inform you and make your life easier, right?
Right.
So with the CPA also, you can set goals with them even to expand your business, right? Make sure that you need to also understand that you have to save at least 6 months of your business expenses on your bank, right? Because if something goes south, you have a client that don't pay you, or sometimes clients are late to pay you, you have something to fall back. So CPA is another person that you have to work with them and you cannot ignore, because I know a lot of people out there that have big business, big money, but they owe over 10 years in taxes because they never file their taxes.
Can you
Okay.
give some advice to some of the people like that, don't have the money for a
I
CPA or
think your camera is moving because I only see you, like,
oh,
I'm not seeing your full face. Now I can see your full face.
I can see. Okay. Can you give some like advice to people that, may not be able to afford a CPA or accountant like right off the bat? Like what would your advice be?
Well, when you start a business in the beginning, there are depends where you're from, where you live. There is sometimes places on the county that have people that volunteer with CPAs, or even you can, trying to go to universities, or trying to find students that are doing accounting. Sometimes they need the experience as well, right? But there are CPAs that they are reasonable, right? They are reasonable, right? They sit with you. Sometimes they can cheat you. You can do some of the stuff yourself, But unfortunately, that price, sometimes that is something that you need to pay. You can go
Absolutely.
around, as I said, trying to see if you have CPA on your accounting services, voluntary services that might help you with that. That it would be one of the things that is very important.
And what?
Another thing, the fourth thing that is important in business is a CPP, is a payroll specialist. Okay, why I'm saying this, because CPAs, they're very good when it comes to taxes, but payroll is a very specific case, right? Payroll, you need somebody that understand how to run payroll when you have employees. If you have at least 4 employees, you need to have somebody that knows how to run payroll for you. Why? Because payroll is very complex, right? People,
Mhm.
you hire people, and there are things that you need to file with the state and the federal government. Every 3 months, you have to file your core unemployment taxes. How are you gonna get the rate that the state is gonna give you? If you receive child support garnishments, how are you gonna apply this, right? If you receive a federal levy, as an employer, when you receive a federal tax levy, that means that somebody has not paid their taxes. They often send that information to the employer. The employer has 3 days to answer the IRS. And if you don't answer the IRS, you might be liable to pay the tax levy for your employees. When you receive a child support, how are you going to deduct the child support from somebody else's pay? Do you deduct what the state's telling you? No, you have to do a number to make sure that that money that they ask you to deduct, it is valid. So you have to have somebody that have a deep understanding payroll. Often when you work at CPA, they have people that run payroll and you understand that. But you have to make sure that you have somebody that do understand about your taxes and about your payroll. Especially when you have to pay the federal government. Make sure, don't just rely on your CPA, on your CPP to pay your taxes. Okay? You, they can tell you how much to pay and you pay yourself. But those taxes cannot wait. You have to pay right away. So CPP is another person that you have to, very important to have in your business. Now, we also have to have somebody on your company, the understanding about management, right? Often I see a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, they lose a lot of money because they don't know how to manage, right? They don't, how am I gonna say this? They don't successful put everything in places. They are not organized and they lose money. You have to have somebody that know how to manage. You don't, if you know how to do yourself, it is good, but if you don't know, you need to learn somehow because you're running a business and from the beginning, you're gonna have to do it all, right? You're gonna do mistakes, yes, but you have to do it all. And the last thing, the most important thing that you have when you open a business, when you start making money, make sure that you have a business bank account. Okay? You, when you start your business, you might start using your personal bank account because you just started. But as soon as start you making money, you can't have your personal bank account mixed with your business. You have to go find a bank. Personally, I like big banks. I don't like credit unions because you have to take in consideration a lot. Sometimes banks you deposit checks, they take like 10 days to clear the money.
Oh God, yeah, we had terrible experience with credit union. We actually recently just switched to another bank. We had a lot of, we actually had fraud on one of our accounts, and we had a huge. They wanted us to like pay a monthly fraud protection fee at the one
Mm.
credit union, and we were like, why are we paying a fraud protection? Shouldn't that already be like something built in at every bank, you know? So, anyways, we ended up leaving, and we have a great bank now. But anyways, that's besides the point.
Yes, so you have a business account, and then when you start having payroll, you open account just for payroll, right? And make sure that you pay your people electronically. Don't give them check, and the bank account, the money bank account is effective, time effective, and you spend money with checks to give them. So make sure that you have that in consideration. You never have the way I used to run my business. You also have to think about, you have a payroll account because, if somebody trying to steal money from you, remember the checks have your bank account and things like that. It's not gonna hurt you that end because you only have payroll. So you can transfer the money of your payroll monthly, whatever you pay now. Then you have your expenses account if you want to, and then you can have your profit account that the money that you're saving for your business, you can have in a different account. That is a good way how to manage your bank accounts. But it's very important you also have a business bank account. Very
So
important.
many people that I talk to, they're like, you have to have two separate accounts. Like, absolutely, you have to have more than that, though. Like you were saying, a payroll account, and people just need to learn to separate the all the different ones, because you've got to make sure the money's flowing in the correct places and flowing out in the correct places.
Exactly, exactly. And then, if something goes south, with the first account is not going to affect everything else, right? But
Absolutely.
that you can separate when you start making money and you have employees and things like that. So those are the steps, the most important steps for your business that you cannot skip. It's very important to have them, right? Your
Let me ask
insurance,
you,
your
um,
business law, your lawyer, your CPA, your CPP, and your bank account. Those are the things that you cannot.
Let me ask you. So we never ended up like touching on this when we were talking about CPAs and accountants. What do you, as someone who has a lot of knowledge in this, what do you look for when you're looking for someone in your area? Because there's so many people out there that are trying to get your attention, pay you all this money. What would your top three things to look at?
First
When
of
you're
all,
out
I
there?
would. I will not go to companies that you like. I will not go to companies that automatize the taxes. Like you do yourself. I would be far away with that. But I would interview CPAs. Right. First, I would ask someone, and that that might know a CPA. You work with them. A referral is a good point to go. But you also remember when you go to a CPA, they're gonna work for you. You have to interview them. So to me, when I see CPAs saying to me, "Oh, don't worry about it. You're not gonna pay nothing tax. You're gonna have all this return." This is a key for me to bounce.
Yeah.
Okay? Because as a business owner, everybody knows that you're gonna have to pay some taxes. And you have to pay taxes, okay? It's nothing wrong with pay tax. Let me put it out there, right? Look, tax is necessary, right? A lot of people said, oh, there are a lot of people living off the government, but everybody lives off the government. If you have kids that go to public schools, you live off of the government. We might don't like the way the government spend our money. We all agree with that. There is a lot of things that we need to tie it up. But paying taxes, it is important. Okay? Don't open a business with the idea intentionally that you're gonna get return and not paying taxes because this is fraud. You have to pay your taxes because you have police officers to pay, we have teachers to pay, we have a lot of things to pay, right? So as a business owner, you have to pay taxes no matter what. Okay? Don't get influenced, don't let your CPA or the person tells you, oh, you're not gonna owe taxes. You're gonna owe tax. Now, there is different ways that you can in legal ways that you can alleviate the burden of taxes. Maybe the structure of your business, right? If you have a LLC, sometimes you cannot be employee of your LLC. You have to pay more taxes. But when you change the structure of your company to corporation, you can become an employee of this company and you pay less taxes. But there is specifications on that, right? So you have to. That's why you have to see a good CPA that is gonna give you the information. But the first thing it is, as I'm gonna answer your questions, you look for referral, right?
Okay.
You might, in this world of business, like I know that you can refer your CPA if you like them,
Oh,
right? To
mine is great. I tell everyone about them.
you know what I mean? This is a good way. And also, don't forget to sit down with them. And, if things look like too good to be true, you hit the bell and it's not for you. Has to be a CPA. Don't, there are a lot of people there that can do taxes, but they are not certified. Like CPAs, they need to get extensive tests. They need to be upfront with, learn about taxes. Because, for example, now with this beautiful ugly bill that just passed. There are a lot of codes, tax codes that might change it, that might affect your business. You have to make sure that you sit with CPA about that, right? But no escape of paying your taxes or file your taxes if you have a business, because many times if you're trying to get be a contract with the government, they're not gonna give any contract to you, right? Sometimes when you work with companies, they might ask to see your books, right? If you want to have a loan, they're gonna want to see your taxes. Another thing it is that I want to talk about, uh, and when we were in the pandemic, right, that everything was closed, there were a lot of people on Facebook like trying to sell their business, right? People think because they have a logo and they have some machines and they have an open business, it is a big business, it's profitable. I'm gonna sell my business with, a $500,000. But then you ask, okay, you are profitable. You make, you turn to sell the business to me for $500,000. That means that you at least your profitable should be $500,000. And then you ask for to see the taxes. You don't even see $50,000. And then you ask them how you make that money. Well, we know I get a lot of them in cash and things like that. No. If you want to be successful, the way to see how successful your business are is by looking your taxes. Okay? That over there is gonna tell how much you make it. Doesn't People don't care if you make money on, under the table or cash, because it's not there, right? People only can see the value of your business by looking at your tax returns. If they look at tax returns, you're losing money, that means that your business is not profitable. And they look at tax returns and see that, you're telling people that you're making like $1 million a year, and they look at tax return, you only make $100,000 a year. I mean, you're not that valuable. So taxes is also going to help dictate the value of your business. So just think about it. Like if you want to cheat on your business, you don't want to cheat on your taxes. That also is going to hurt you in the long haul if you're trying to, buy assets for your business like a car, a van. If you want to open, a different business out there, because that is also how they're going to tell that you're making money. So just think about that.
Okay, yeah. Um, let's see. What else do I want to ask you? Let's see. I'm trying to think. Somebody else was sending a message, and I'm trying to see what they said. I had another DM about taxes, but it's not on the top of my head right now. But yeah, I think we really covered a lot in this video. I think that you have to have a CPA and account in your business. That's just if you want to see your numbers and actually see how
I
successful your
have a lot of business, like set up with their bookkeeping, because bookkeeping is something that you have to do every day, right? And I'm gonna talk a little bit more, later on when we do a different video about this, because I want to talk about the bookkeeping aspect of them. But like running a business is not easy. Many people out there are trying to put in, especially on Facebook. I see in social media all the time, I'm Dubai, I'm running all this cleaning business, like it's so easy. It is not easy to run a business, especially in the beginning. But when you learn from it and you learn eventually, you're going to be set to go.
absolutely.
Nothing it is easy. Nothing it is easy.
And something else like that I have found. So with our last accountant slash CPA that we had used, um, they were not responsive. They just overall like what they did with our company was not good. They also even got us into an audit, right? So the one that we have now, something that I was looking for is someone that I could really partner with and really communicate with, because when I get a state notice or just something from the state, I can send it to them so they're able to tell me exactly what needs to happen, or they just do it for us, right? So it's really, a valuable thing to have, right? It's like for us it's truly like something that we absolutely cannot live without now, right? They help us so much. And they do a lot for us. So just keep that in the back of your head when you are interviewing these people. Keep in mind that it's going to be someone that you're going to be communicating with on a regular basis, sometimes even every day, if you have something going on with the state. So really make
Another
sure.
thing that you
Go ahead.
another thing that you said, that I just want to touch the subject. Like just because you have a CPA doing your taxes, don't assume they're gonna be liable for the mistakes that they do. A lot of times when CPAs do mistakes, could be because of them, but also could be because of the business owner not be upfront with
Okay.
them. And
Triple check.
is your taxes and your responsibility, and liability is yours. You're gonna respond if you owe taxes. You cannot tell the IRS, "Oh my gosh, my CPA didn't do that." No, they're gonna come after you. So this is an area that you have to get informed. You have to be informed, and you have to do whatever is good for your business.
Yeah, and so many people like excuse me, that is really good to add, because so many of us don't look or even give it a second thought. Just because you really like your accountant and CPA, whatever, you need to make sure that, they are doing everything right. So it is good to have somewhat, some kind of knowledge of, how they're doing things, and just yeah. So I'm glad you
Make
said.
sure that your taxes are being paid. You have to verify. Get out there, the confirmations and things like that. You have to. When it comes to this part, you have to be involved. You have
uh,
to be involved. You
every
cannot
part of the
just run
business.
to the sunset and drink a margarita and think that.
Yeah, we got, yes, that's true. I think, like I said, I think this video is a great video because so many people have been sending messages talking about specific, because we've been talking about CPA and accountant. We talked about it a little bit last time, but this one's really like a deep dive talking about the ins and the outs, what to look for. And I really, appreciate you coming on and telling everyone this. This is, very, very helpful.
Exactly,
Want to add
exactly.
else?
Taxes is something they show. Tax is gonna dictate the success of your business. So the more you cheat, the less you're gonna be successful, right? And you can see that with our own lives, right? You cannot buy a house if you don't have your taxes, right? You cannot do big purchases. The first thing that they ask is taxes, tax, 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 tax. So
Yes, you are 100% right. Well, everyone, um, please drop in the comments below what any other kind of questions you guys, want us to come on. We're going to be doing once a week. We're going to be coming on and we will be answering all your questions. I'm super excited to have, be doing this with Anna. She's, volunteering her time to give us valuable information. She ran a very successful cleaning company. And then I run my cleaning company. So, like I said, thank you guys for following along. And Anna, thank you again for coming on our channel. We
welcome anytime, anytime.
trust me, I get DMs and emails about our videos. So, anyways, we do enjoy those, so keep sending them. But anyways, everyone, we'll see you in the next video and have a good day. Bye bye.